In this lesson of Chapter 9, we are finding perimeter and circumference. Perimeter is the distance around any geometric figure. So that means any polygon. When we're talking about a circle, then we call that perimeter circumference. Circumference is just a special name for perimeter whenever you're dealing with a circle. And when you're finding circumference, we use a Greek letter called pi. Pi is a ratio of the circumference to the diameter. And pi, we usually use a number representation that is 3.14, which is an estimate, or you can use the exact fraction of 22/7. Again, perimeter is the distance around any geometric shape. So if you're looking for the distance around the outside of something, that's when you're looking for the perimeter. And you find that by adding up the lengths of all the sides of that shape. So here's a triangle. And for this triangle, we're going to find the perimeter. Noticing on this triangle, you have two sides that are congruent, here and here. So just as a little background knowledge, remember that this is an isosceles triangle. And in order for us to find the perimeter, what we're going to do is we are going to add up all of our sides. So we start with our formula. Perimeter equals 25 plus 25 plus 15. That's the length of each of our sides. And then we add, and if you can't do it all mentally, you take it step by step and use your carets. So 25 plus 25 is 50. Bring down your plus 15. Don't forget your equal sign. And then we have perimeter equals, and then 50 plus 15 is 65. And since we're just adding centimeters plus centimeters plus centimeters, and you're just adding, you only have centimeters. So your answer is 65 centimeters, and you always, 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 always circle your answer. You can also use a formula for a rectangle specifically. Because two of your sides are congruent, and you know we use our tick marks for congruence. So because this side is equal to this side, and this side is equal to this side, then we can use 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, which is the same thing as adding length plus length, which is 2 times the length, and width plus width. Let's take a look at an example. We have 18 feet as the length and 14 feet as the width. We're going to find the perimeter of this rectangle. Now you have perimeter equals 2L plus 2W. And then you have if I can get my stylus working properly. And then you have 2 times 18 plus 2 times 14. And 2 times 18 is 36. 2 times 14 is 28. You add 36 plus 28, and you get 64. In case you need to see the math, 36 plus 28, 6 plus 8 is 14, carry your 1. 1 plus 3 plus 2 is 6. And don't forget your units. We're talking about feet here, so we have to make sure we put 64 feet. And then what's the last thing we always do? Always, 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 always circle your answer. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is perimeter of polygons. So now we'll move on to a circle. When you're talking about a circle, it's not a polygon. So we use something that's called pi, as explained earlier. And what you do is you multiply pi times the diameter. Now, this is your diameter. Last year in 6th grade, you went over diameter and radius. Remember, your radius is 2 times the diameter. So if you're looking at your radius, you can see here that the radius goes through half the circle and the diameter goes through the entire circle. So if you're given the radius instead of the diameter, all you have to do is take your radius and multiply it by 2. And then you multiply it by pi. Okay, here's a circle where we have to find the circumference, and it says here, you want to be careful to read instructions, that we have to round it to the nearest tenth. And we are allowed to use 3.14 for pi. So, first thing we have to do is set up our formula. Circumference equals pi times the diameter. And this is the correct formula because they gave us the diameter, which goes all the way across the circle. And now we substitute. So, pi, we're using 3.14, or 3 1400ths. Let's make sure you can see my point. There you go. And then the diameter is 12. So now we just have to do some multiplication. We'll set that up over here. We'll do it in a different color. And we want to put the number with the least amount of digits at the bottom. So we have our 3.14. Make sure we can see our point. Times 12. Okay. And let's just make sure we separate so that we don't get confused. 4 times 2 is 8. 1 times 2 is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. 0 to hold the place. I like to put a little X through there. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. And 1 times 3 is 3. We add. We have 8 plus 0, which is 8. 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. And nothing plus 3 is 3. Now remember, you have to count the number of decimal places. So we have 2 decimal places here. We have none here. Put those together. We should have 2 in our answer. So that means that we move 2 decimal places. So our answer over here, put our caret, is 37.68. And your units were inches. So we put our inches. And that's our circumference. Now, when you're finished, after you, of course, circle your answer, you want to make sure that your answer is reasonable. So now, if I look back at what I'm multiplying, if I round it to the nearest whole number, which means if I round it to this number, I have 3 times 12. Well, 3 times 12 is 36. So that means that my answer should be somewhere near 36. And if I look here, I see 37 and 68 hundredths. That answer is close to 36. So I know my answer is at least reasonable. If you have a diameter or radius that is a multiple of 7, like 7, 14, 21, 28, you can use 22 over 7 for pi, and then it'll be an easy calculation. So let's take a look at this example. The diameter of a circular spa, keyword is circular, and they give us the diameter so we know what formula, is 14 meters. That's important information. What is its circumference? And we're using 22 over 7 for pi because this 14 is a multiple of 7. So now we're going to set up our formula, and if you need to see a picture so that you know what it looks like, then by all means, draw a picture. So if this is your picture, and here's your diameter, and it says the diameter is 14 meters. There's your picture. Okay, it takes you 2 seconds to make sure you have a good understanding of the problem. So now circumference equals pi times the diameter, and circumference equals, and we're using 22, oops, let's erase that, that looks a little messy, 22 over 7 times, it's a whole number, but we can put it over 1. So now we're just multiplying fractions. Now the reason why this should be very simple for you is if I take away these parentheses and instead, let's say I use our dot, then you can see easily that I can cancel or simplify before I multiply. And my 14 and 7 have a common factor of 7. So 14 divided by 7 is 2. What's going on there? 14 divided by 7 is 2. 7 divided by 7 is 1. So now all I have to do now is multiply straight across. And I have 22. Let's highlight. I have 22 times 2, and that answer would give me 44. The denominator would be 1, so I know that goes away, and then my units are meters, so it's 44 meters. And then remember, you always circle your answer. And that is how you find perimeter of polygons and circumference of circles.